All right, let's do this. How's it going, Rogues Gallery? And welcome to our very first TCG tier list here on Red Zone Rogue. And by TCG tier list, I mean a mostly comprehensive TCG tier list of what I consider to be not really the best, but the ones that I enjoy most. And we'll talk about my stipulations and all of that stuff as we go on. This is actually one of the most requested videos for me, and you know, after almost 10 years of covering TCGs here on YouTube, this is the first time I've done a very comprehensive TCG tier list like this. So, without further ado, let's go into our overlay, and we'll talk about what the TCG tier list is and what it isn't. So, let's go ahead. So, this is a tier list. This is not my tier list. In fact, this is a tier list ranked by one of the stipulations that we are not going to use, and that is popularity. So if I was going to make a TCG tier list just in terms of sales and popularity, it would look something like this. And that's based off of recent TCG player sales information and you know, various other things. There might be some, you know, swaps here or there, like maybe this or something, but essentially you have Pokemon in its own tier because it's ridiculously it just rakes in money hand over fist, and the sales does not even compare. It's not even close to anything else. It's in its own stratosphere. Magic, One Piece, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Also sell really, really well. Star Wars Unlimited's on the uptick. I've heard that Lorcana's maybe on the downtick a little bit, but still doing really well. Union Arena, Digimon, also selling really well. In fact, you could probably move these ones kind of like this. You could probably do something like this if you wanted to, but like this is not what our tier list is. This is just based on sales and sales. And some of these, I made this tier list a little while ago. Some of this stuff like Battle Spirit Saga, it's not even in print. And same with Metazoo, even though it's kind of coming back. And then these ones down here, they're not out yet. At least at the time of this recording, these ones are not out on the market yet. So these ones don't matter for sales. So this is what we're not judging it by. I don't really care about how popular the game is, how popular the franchise is, how much it sells. We're going to be judging this on my own set of criteria, and I've kind of written a little bit of it down here. We're talking about things that I genuinely care about when I look at TCGs. We're talking about aesthetics as well as card and foil quality. We're talking about the, you know, starter experience. We're talking about how budget friendly and how consumer friendly it is. And we're also talking about the fun factor, mechanics, things that, you know, do I find the game enjoyable? And as well as stuff like organized play scene and that kind of stuff. So we're not talking about sales figures. So let's actually hop back in here, and we're going to just reset this. And now let's go over what my actual list is going to be. So we're going to start with League of Legends. So the new League of Legends trading card game, also known as, I think it's called like Riftbound. We haven't played it yet, so we're not going to be able to judge this. The new redesign on the cards look really, really good, and I do want to test this out, and I do want to play it, but I personally haven't played it yet. There's only a couple here that are going to be in the haven't played it tier. I have played almost like 99% of the games out on the market. There's a couple others here that I haven't played, but I'm playing most of them. All right, so Pokemon. People are gonna get angry already. Pokemon is C tier for me. Listen, I like Pokemon as a game and as a franchise. It's one that I grew up with. I think they do their textures and their foilings really, really well. I think overall their cards look pretty good. The card stock is pretty good, but just as a game to play, I personally don't find it to be very fun. I have played the Gym Leader Challenge format, and I think that one's really fun. That's where you play a singleton deck with some other deck building restrictions, including only being able to run a Pokemon of a single type. So I make a Psychic deck, and that's pretty fun. But generally speaking, in terms of just like gameplay, I find Pokemon to be underwhelming when compared to other offerings out there on the market. And now we have Alpha Clash. So we're going to have a lot of games that's going to be in the B tier. Okay, so B tier, I think Alpha Clash is a really cool and interesting game. It's an indie style, or it's an indie superhero style game, and gameplay wise, I think it's pretty good, which is exactly why it's going to be here in the B tier. Not on the top, it's not on the bottom. It's like pretty good. Everything they do is pretty good. The art is pretty good. Their foiling is pretty good. Their organized play, they're really small and they're kind of up and coming, so the organized play isn't very robust, but they're trying. And for me, I'd rank it solidly in the B tier. I think it's an okay game. We're gonna see a lot of games here in the B tier. Like another one, this is gonna make a lot of people angry. Hey, look, One Piece. We're putting One Piece in the B tier. Listen, I don't think One Piece cards look very good, generally speaking, outside of the Super Chase cards. The Super Chase cards and the special alt arts and the foiling, they look great. But your regular run-of-the-mill, like, commons and whatever, they don't look very good. And in terms of just, like, gameplay, I think it's alright. If this is your first TCG, actually, I think One Piece would be a very good, like, first-time TCG. I think it's pretty simple. And it's, it's got a popular franchise, but like I said, we're not including franchise popularity. We're not including sales in this, just my personal opinions on how I evaluate each of these games. So One Piece, I think it's okay. It's not really my cup of tea. It's fine. It's unoffensive. And now here we're going to start getting into my personal biases, with Grand Archive. Grand Archive is S tier for me. Yeah, I mean, like, okay, once again, personal biases here. Everything, all cards on the table. I do have a collaboration card with Grand Archive, but that's not why it's here on the S tier. I also do casting and coverage for this. Also not why it's on the S tier, but kind of a little bit, because they do have a robust organized play. They have casting and coverage for their games, which I think is really, really important for TCGs these days. And they have an emphasis on that. But not only that, I think the game is just really, really fun. It's really unique. I always get a little annoyed anytime I see someone's like, oh yeah, it's like Magic. It is nothing like Magic, aside from the fact that you have units on the field that you can attack with. But other than that, it's not anything like Magic. Combat doesn't work like Magic. Combat's closer to Yu-Gi-Oh! The resource system doesn't work anything like Magic, because you put cards from your hand down to pay resources and then you get them back. There's no kind of like ramp up. Drawing cards is ramp in Grand Archive. So it's a really unique, mechanically speaking game. The art is beautiful. Just the regular versions of the cards look pretty good, but their CSRs look absolutely fantastic, and they're working really hard to make them even better. The foiling and the textures are just like top tier quality. Just the card stock is really, really good quality as well. They have some of the best starter deck products on the market with the Recollection decks. They're very like consumer friendly in that regards. The only downside I can say is that it's on the more expensive side for TCG. So like One Piece is pretty great because it's really budget friendly. And in fact, Pokemon too. Pokemon and One Piece are both super, super budget friendly games. But Grand Archive is on the more expensive side of things, but they also have a really robust organized play circuit with really good pricing, like cash pricing and card pricing. So there's a lot of bias that goes into this. I know other people wouldn't rank this as high, but I genuinely love Grand Archive, and it's growing and doing pretty well. And yeah, especially like in overseas markets, like in Southeast Asia. So yeah, there's some of my bias there. Star Wars Unlimited. It's also going in the B tier. All right, so I think Star Wars is all right. I have played it a couple times, and I do like the lane system. It actually reminds me a lot of the Elder Scrolls digital card game, if anyone knows that, which you have two different lanes. And Star Wars Unlimited kind of has a similar system, but theirs is broken up between like ground units and like aerial units or spaceships or whatever. And you can kind of like choose to fight between certain lanes, and maybe like you want to play cards to strengthen one lane rather than the other, or maybe focus on both. So mechanically speaking, I think it's pretty good. It's pretty fun. And a lot of the things other than that lane system, play very similar to other trading card games. Their organized play circuit is there and doing coverage, but it is growing. I definitely don't think it's quite as robust as something like Grand Archive is yet. And then aesthetically, I think it's on the lower side. That's one of the reasons why, for me, it's personally not up into the A tier. The art style is definitely an aesthetic choice, and it's all pretty unified. But for me, it looks, I don't want to say boring, but it just doesn't do it for me. I like, if they went with a more like heavily, dark inked comic book style, I probably would have liked it a little bit. But for me, I would describe it as like, I don't know, milk toast. It's like, it's fine, but doesn't really excite me the way that some of the other games that have like really, really nice art do. And I don't think the art's quality is bad. It's just a style that doesn't resonate with me personally. Even if I do like Star Wars, by the way. I would consider myself a Star Wars fan. So, yeah. So I think the game is just, It's all right. Now we have Flesh and Blood. This is going to be another really contentious one. It is... Nah, I think Flesh and Blood is an A tier, even if I don't really play it anymore. I think the game is fantastic. I think it's really mechanically solid, even if the balancing can swing wildly with decks becoming really, really meta and something just dominating the game for a short amount of time. I do want to take a note to say that Grand Archive's meta, at least currently, is really, really nice, and something that I do pay attention to, even though for games like Star Wars, you know, I don't know the meta as much as I do some of these other games. But I think Flesh and Blood, mechanically speaking, is really good. Artistically and aesthetically speaking, really good. It's one of my favorite Western style TCGs. I think I'm going to rate one a little bit higher here. That's going to be an upset to a lot of people, but I generally think it's pretty good. For me personally, after playing it and covering it for like 5 years, it's starting to grow a little stale on me. A lot of the mechanics boil down to very similar things, like I attack you with a thing, you block with a thing, and we do some number exchanging, and sometimes I'll draw a card, sometimes I'll discard a card. There's some effect there, but when it boils down to it, it's usually very similar. I know that's true for a lot of the TCGs, but I still am rating this pretty high. But I'm just saying why I'm not having as much fun playing it currently. It's also the most expensive game on this list, with maybe the exception of, you know, Legacy and Vintage Magic the Gathering. So that's also, you know, in something I should note. And it also has some of the worst starter product out of all these games as well. I don't like that they bundled their Blitz decks in an expensive box set. So they made it so you cannot buy them individually anymore in the United States or in the West. You have to buy them in these expensive box sets. I know some stores break those apart and sell them individually, but that's on the stores for being cool, not on LSS for forcing stores to do that. So, and then they also have their Armory decks, which I think constructed wise and like in terms of like gameplay, I think they're pretty good, but I think they're too expensive. I think $40 and then $60 is absurd for a starter product, a starter pre-constructed product, especially when you have games like Grand Archive offering similar things, similar price points, but also with magnetic deck boxes, sleeves, promo packs, full play sets of everything, including extras. And I think the starter offerings and pre-constructed offerings in Flesh and Blood leave a lot to be desired, especially when compared to their competitors. And that's exactly what we're doing today. All right, so next up we have Lorcana. All right, I'm gonna give Lorcana, we're gonna put it right here, put it in B as well. I think it's okay. I think Lorcana is okay. Aesthetic wise, I think it looks pretty good. I like that it uses all original artwork. The artwork itself is pretty good. The starter decks are also pretty good. One of the few starter deck products out of all of these that actually has like full color printed manuals, which is really cool. Something that you don't really see a lot these days. But gameplay wise, I'm like, it's okay. It's not super exciting. If this is, once again, this is going to be similar to like One Piece. If this is your first TCG ever, I think you might really, really like it and find a lot to enjoy from it. But for me personally, as someone who's been playing card games for almost 30 years, yes, I am old, it just doesn't really do it much for me. I didn't find it super interesting, but I can see why new players or people who are really big fans of Disney might find it enjoyable. I just didn't find it to have as much mechanical complexity and depth that I personally would like. Not, you know, I'm not faulting it or anything. I'm bringing it in the B tier. B tier for me is like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. And I think Lorcana, yeah, it's okay. Alestrals. This is a pretty tough one. I like what they're doing. I'm actually going to put Alestrals. There's going to be a lot in the B tier. I'm going to put Alestrals in the B tier as well. And, well, do I want to put it in the C tier? This is tricky. It's close between B and C tier. I really like what they're doing in terms of new player experience and consumer friendliness. I love that they are lowering the price of their starter decks, making it more accessible for players. I love that the competitive meta is really open. There's a lot of different decks and viability. The art style really doesn't do it for me. The card stock and card quality also don't really do it for me. I think they're not as good as something like a Grand Archive. Flesh and Blood card stock and card quality is okay, but I would put them in the Magic tier for card quality. Maybe not that bad. Maybe not that bad. But they use Cardamundi, which is the same manufacturer as Magic, so you can kind of get some of the same problems. Illustrials does something different, and their card stock feels more papery and less cardboardy. I'm gonna put it in the C tier. I'm gonna put it in the C. No, I'm gonna put it in the B tier. I'll put it in the B tier. It's tough. I like that they have a digital client as well. Every time I'm like want to put it in the C tier, there's another thing I think about that makes me want to put it into the B tier. I think it's okay. Gameplay wise, I think the first couple starter decks were not great. I felt the game had a lot of tempo problems where it was really easy for one player to run ahead and the other player to kind of just run out of resources. That might be fixed with later products. They did send me some stuff to try out, but I haven't tested them out yet, like the more recent decks. But generally speaking, I think Illustrials is okay, and I think it's a really good alternative to something like Pokemon if you're a fan of that, general style. Weiss Schwarz. Weiss Schwarz is gonna be, it's gonna be high BT. Well, we might have to readjust this a little bit. I think I'm gonna put Weiss Schwarz in the high B tier for me currently. I think mechanically speaking, it's super unique, but it is pretty crunchy. It's an older game that's been around for over 10 years. I think it's like 10 or 13 years, something like that. And in terms of your IP franchise games, we have this one and we also have Union Arena. I like Weiss Schwarz quite a bit more. I think it's just a much more interesting game to play. It's a much weirder game. And coming from other games that are more like unit-based or just attack-based, like Grand Archive or Flesh and Blood, it's a little obtuse and a little crunchy to get into, but once you do, I think it's pretty good. I think their base level cards look fine, but they do use screenshot artwork, which definitely gets it like a knockdown. But there are some sets that don't use screenshot artwork that look really good. And when they do like their chase cards, their special foilings, their signatures, those look really, really nice. Similar to like how One Piece, to be honest, base level cards don't look all that great. Some of them do, but most of them don't. But the high rarity stuff looks fantastic. But gameplay wise, I think Weiss is just really interesting. So I'm going to leave it here on the B. We might bump it up to the lower A as we progress. All right, so Digimon. To the surprise of a lot of folks out there, I think I'm going to put Digimon in the A tier. I think Digimon kind of hits on almost all the notes for me. I think it's a really fun game to play. I think it's a pretty affordable game to play. I think the art style looks fantastic. I think the special cards look great. It's just a really clean, fun, easy game to play. I think it's one that's really accessible to new players. I think it's one that veteran TCG players can play a little bit, even if it's on the more simpler side of things. But as in terms of these other Bandai games, I actually like Digimon quite a bit. I think it's a really, really fun game. So yeah, we're gonna put Digimon in the A tier. I don't really talk about it all that much, but yeah. And then also in the A tier, I'm gonna put Altered here. I think Altered is a fascinating card game. It's one that it is a competitive card game, but it's not a violent card game. It's a more positive outlook. You're basically racing to the finish with your opponent, and because of that, I think it's just really interesting. The mechanics are interesting. You're trying to win respective lanes. It's kind of similar to Star Wars Unlimited, but in a more interesting way where you're not just killing their dudes. It's just, like I said, it's more of a race. I think the art style is interesting. It's very, very colorful, very Riot-esque actually. And yeah, I just think the game is really cool. They do have a really interesting monetization model where you can get digital, you scan your cards with the QR code and you get a digital ownership of the card and you can print them out. It's not NFTs, they're using their own database kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's just really interesting, and they're doing a lot of unique stuff. I actually think this game is super cool, and I think it's also just really fun to play. Out of all the TCGs here, I've dragged my very understanding and lovely partner to play them with me, and out of all the ones that she's played, she's liked Altered the most. And she's not a TCG player like I am, and I think so. I think that says a lot for like being an accessible game for like new players, and an interesting one, especially for people who don't like really combative type stuff. We played a lot. We actually play with all of the starter decks, which almost never happens. We usually play 1 or 2 games, and she's like, "I'm just gonna go make dinner now." I'm like, oh, "Okay," but if I'm like, "Do you want to play again?" She's like, "Yeah, we'll play a different one." That's a good sign. So I actually like Altered quite a bit. Next up, we have Final Fantasy. This is gonna surprise a lot of people too. I think Final Fantasy is great. I think the thing that holds it back the most is the cards don't look all that great. Once again, it's one of those games where like the base level cards don't look super great. They do frequently use like screenshot or like sprite grabs, which I think it's fine, but it's not what I would prefer. I'd prefer like all brand new unique art. I know that's expensive though, but gameplay wise, I really was impressed with Final Fantasy. It kind of felt a lot like Flesh and Blood in a lot of mechanics, but also not in some ways. And yeah, I was just really impressed when I first learned how to play the game. Once again, I think the art holds it back a lot. In fact, yeah, I think if they had the level of quality that the Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy crossover had, I think the game would do a lot better. Because, you know, if you might be one of the people who are like, the game just, I only care about mechanics. But at the end of the day, aesthetics are so important. It's one of the reasons why Pokemon makes money hand over fist, because people love to collect the cards. Yes, they love the characters and they love the Pokemon, but it's because the high rarity Pokemon cards look awesome, and that people get super stoked when they pull them and they get like, oh, here's this super Chase Eevee card or whatever. They get so pogged up. So if Final Fantasy had the super awesome artwork, they do. But if it was spread across everything, I think the game would do a little bit better, and also if they had better marketing, to be honest. But I actually really like this game. I think it's a really solid game. Next up we have Force of Will. I'm sorry, Force of Will D tier. The game is still around. It's still kicking. It's one of the few D tier games we're going to put here. It's, you know what? I don't, oh man, how deep do I want to go into this? Okay. I really liked Force of Will when it came out. Obviously, I started this channel based around Force of Will. Red Zone Rogue was a Force of Will channel for a long time. And I still like the game to some degree, but man, the game has blundered so many times over and over again. We had Baja Blast, we had the whole Regalia thing, we had kind of both at the same time actually. We had the Millennia of Ages stuff, we had just Eiji Shishido, the creator of the game, getting kicked out of the company. Like, it was like a hostile takeover. There's a lot of stuff, a sordid history with Force of Will, and they changed the card frames multiple times. I liked the original one. The second edition I think was fine, and then like the most latest one looks bad. Like, just honest, 100% looks really bad. I don't know, man. Like, so I don't think the cards look good. I mean, I think the full arts look pretty good, but I think the full art should be like the base frames, and they should make extra nice, like better versions for like chase cards. And then the gameplay has power crept so much since I played. Everything is just a word soup. It's just like a textbook reading cards. And I'm sorry, Force of Will fans, Force of Will faithful. I would love a reboot. Just an actual like hard reboot of the game, starting brand new set, completely overdo the card frames, everything, and then just start fresh. And I think maybe you have a shot, but sorry, Force of Will's D tier. Hololive. So I actually have played the Hololive card game, and I'm actually really excited for this. I'm gonna put Hololive. It probably should just be here. I want to put it here. I think it's really fun. And it's similar to Pokemon, but I think it does a lot of interesting things that Pokemon doesn't do. In fact, I've heard people say that it's like, oh, it's just a Pokemon clone. And to some extent it is, but I feel, and this is just from only doing some demo games at Anime Expo last year, I feel like Pokemon is to Magic as, Magic is to Hearthstone as Pokemon is to Hololive. So Magic is to Hearthstone as Pokemon is to Hololive. Yes, they have similar things going on, but there's enough that's different that I think it makes it a lot more unique. So what do I mean by that? Well, you don't have your resources in your main deck. It's in a separate deck. So deck construction is fundamentally different because you don't have to include resource cards in your main deck. So that's one big thing. Pokemon, you do still have to include energy cards in your main deck, and it definitely factors into that. Another thing, you have a leader card that you start in play, very similar to like a Force of Will or a Flesh and Blood, or a Grand Archive. You have a leader that starts in play and has an effect. So you can build your deck around that effect and around maximizing it. So deck construction and strategy just is fundamentally different in the Hololive card game, even if it's similar in that you attach energy, I think it's called like cheer, to your like VTuber characters in order to do like various attacks and stuff. I think it's really fun, at least as you know, first time experience, and I definitely want to play more when the English game comes out. I'm going to put it down here because we haven't played it. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to put it in on here. I'll put it here for now. Because I have technically played it, but you can also think of it being down here too. Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball Fusion World, I have not played either of them. So this is what the other big game on this list that I just haven't played, other than ones that haven't come out yet. I hear it's pretty good. In terms of just like, gameplay and aesthetics, I probably would be rating it around a B, but I don't know. I haven't played it yet. So because of that, I'm going to put it down here. If you're a big Dragon Ball Super fan, let me know. Why should I play this? Out of all the other games here, why should I play this one? Let me know. Union Arena. It's a B. It's good. It's a B tier game. Listen, I think it's fine. The gameplay, I think it's just fine. But in fact, I think I like One Piece more, but it's close. I'm like, which one am I personally more likely to buy cards from? It's probably Union Arena. It's probably closer to this, to be honest, if I'm being 100% honest. So why do I put it here? I think the cards are ugly. Like, just straight up. I think outside of the high chase rarity cards, I think the cards are just ugly. The borders are like washed out for a lot of the sets and they just don't look good. The screenshot art's also washed out and doesn't look good. I think on the lowest rarity, if you compare like just a random common from Weiss Schwarz and a random common from Union Arena, I think Union Arena looks uglier, just from an aesthetic standpoint. I know that's all, this is subjective. The whole tier list is subjective because it's just my opinions, but it doesn't look great. However, I think the high rarity stuff looks pretty good, similar to Weiss Schwarz, and the gameplay is just fine. It's another kind of like unit-based gameplay. I think they have some interesting mechanics, but a lot of the decks, at least from what I've played, feel a little similar. I know there's a lot of variation out there, but yeah, I think it's fine. In gameplay wise, I'd rate it similar to like One Piece, which oddly enough, hey, they're both Bandai games. We'll be talking about next up, we have a Bandai game that I think is actually excellent, but the big other saving grace is similar to Weiss Schwarz, and I didn't mention this when I was talking about Weiss Schwarz, but these are IP-based games that if there is an IP that you really like that doesn't exist anywhere else, it's here. You know what? Like I know that the Japanese version of Union Arena has Arknights, and I'm a big Arknights fan, if you didn't see all the Arknights figures back here. And I might buy some of the Arknights set for Union Arena just because I like Arknights, and literally no one else is doing Arknights. And so I think that's one of the big saving graces for Union Arena and Weiss Schwarz both, is if they have an IP of something that you really like, then you have an outlet to play here. And I also think these games are both really good budget-friendly games if you just want to play decks, because you don't really mix and match the different IPs. So if you only play, once again, Arknights, then you only buy the Arknights cards, and then you never have to buy any other cards again. Your deck might get power crept or outclassed by other IPs or whatever they call them, nations, whatever. But it's still kind of a, consumer-friendly thing. Like same with Weiss Schwarz, I like Free Ren, so I just buy the Free Ren set, and then I never have to buy any other cards. So I do think that should factor in to this in terms of just kind of like cost and player, consumer friendliness. So, all right, we have Gundam. Technically, I have played a lot of Gundam. The game's not out yet, but I love this. I love Gundam. It's my favorite Bandai game by far, and one of the reasons is they steal a lot of mechanics from Shadowverse Evolve here. It's very similar to Shadowverse Evolve with some key differences, like the leveling or the level mechanic basically restricts the power level of cards you can play. So you have a restriction in terms of the actual resources you have, but you also have restriction in the level. And they make it so that a lot of the high power cards just have a high level requirement. So once you hit that level requirement, you can actually double play powerful cards in a turn, which I think is pretty cool when you pair up the pilots with the units, with the mobile suits. Art-wise, I think this is one of the few Bandai games that has 100% original brand new artwork, which is awesome. No screenshot artwork here. I think the cards look pretty good. If you're a fan of Gundam, which I am, that's just kind of like extra gravy. But just generally speaking, I think the cards look pretty good. Some of the borders can maybe look a little bit washed, but it feels just kind of like a Bandai thing. I think Digimon actually does it best from all the Bandai games. But just in terms of gameplay, I have a lot of fun playing this. Just even with the beta, just having so much fun playing with this game. Very much looking forward to it. This is clearly the Bandai game that I'm looking forward to the most. And obviously, I've already made it clear I like this game so much it's going to end up being a main game here on Red Zone Rogue next to Grand Archive. Not all the S tier games are going to be main games that I play. I mean, all the ones that I do play are going to be up here. Just spoilers. All right, Magic the Gathering. Gonna be pretty surprising to some other folks out there because of Magic's history. But I'm gonna be honest. Magic's A tier game for me. That's also probably gonna piss off some people. They're like, nah, Magic's D tier, Pinkertons and Spider-Man and SpongeBob, and yo, I understand 1,000,000%. Magic, it's interesting. You know, being the first actual trading card game ever made, it has a long history. The game has had so much time to iterate and make new cards and mechanics that it can be overwhelming to a lot of people. And if Magic wasn't something that I've been playing since 1995, it could very well be like around here. It's not the most innovative game ever because, well, it is in some regards because it's the first one, but a lot of games have improved since then. And to think otherwise is frankly kind of insane to me if you think games haven't improved since 1995. Magic itself has done a decent job of doing that, but I think a lot of these other games, just personally speaking, have mechanics and, you know, fundamentals that I enjoy a lot more than Magic. But at the end of the day, if I'm sitting down and I'm like, which games can I play? I'm usually going to choose one of these other ones. But if I have a friend who's like, we're going to play some Commander, I'm like, sure, I still have a Commander game and I can still play and I can still have fun. And I want to give an extra bump to this. This is why Magic is here and not down here. Magic is, and we can argue about this till the cows come home, but I think Magic has the best limited format out of every game on the market. If you want to play limited card game, Magic the Gathering is the best. Flesh and Blood tries, and Flesh and Blood has had some good limited formats, but I don't think it can hold a candle to Magic. I think Magic it does limited so well and just works super well as a limited format, even from specifically Draft. I want to say Draft specifically, but their Jumpstart product is also super, super fun. So because of those, that's why I have Magic here, because it does have that fun factor. Negatives for Magic: card quality sucks. I also personally don't like what they're doing with Magic. I don't like how it feels like a soulless, push for sales when you have stuff like all the universes beyond, basically all the universes beyond stuff. I think collabs every now and then are fine and kind of cool, like when Shadowverse or Vanguard do like collabs with like sister properties, like when Shadowverse Evolve is collabing with Vanguard. I think that's kind of cool, and can kind of like cross promote both games. But man, when it's like Assassin's Creed, SpongeBob, Spider-Man, all of them, Lord of the Rings, Warhammer, even some that I personally like I really like the Warhammer one, but it's a lot, and it really just feels kind of soulless. And then also there's the stuff of it's just like, yep, they're run by a large evil company that sends Pinkertons after people who won't give their cards back that they got accidentally or stole or whatever. So there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on with Magic. I wish it was better. The funniest thing I can say about Magic is right now Tarkir Dragonstorm's coming out, and I have so many friends who are hyped for it because it feels like an actual Magic set and not like a Spider-Man set, or not like, hey, look, here's Magic characters with a different hat on. Here's a detective hat, or here's a cowboy hat. It feels like an actual, genuinely authentic Magic set. And the fact that people are so stoked for that says a lot about the state of the game right now. It'd be cool if just every set was like that, right? Well, maybe that's just me. But I do still rank Magic pretty highly. Maybe it's not at the top of here. Maybe it's closer to like there or something. But I'm gonna put Magic right there for now. Metazoo, D tier. Listen. All right. I'm gonna say two. Well, I'm gonna say a bunch about Metazoo, but there's two big things. This is one of the most unfun games I had played, and I gave it a pass originally because I'm like, hey, this is their first set. Maybe they'll iterate, and then it didn't. And out of every game here, I've done videos on almost every game, and I've even done some gameplay of a lot of these, and we'll be doing gameplay of some of these eventually. But Metazoo is one of the only games where I filmed some gameplay with my buddy Ian, and I completely scrapped like 3 hours of footage because it was just so miserable. And I think that says a lot about it. This is getting a reboot, and the reboot is coming out soon. And I know Richard Garfield is involved in the reboot to some degree, so we'll have to see. But to be honest, I'm not super interested in it at this point. Maybe the reboot's really good. I don't know. I actually own a ton of Metazoo product because they just kept sending me stuff as I was on part of their, like I was on like content creator list or something because I did some videos. But yeah, it's just in the closet with all the other dead games. So I guess it's not dead. It's coming back, but we'll see. But for me personally, no. I do think their new stuff aesthetically looks kind of cool. And I will say the best thing I can say about Metazoo is I really liked the jank vibes of it originally. And I'm 100% honest. I thought the cryptid idea was cool. I liked how the art was slightly jank. I found it really charming, right? Because you have stuff that's mega hyper polished, like Magic, where everything has to follow like the world building guide, or all be kind of like quirky, like manufactured quirkiness with like their secret layers. But I just kind of like how jank, and like, if you know cinema, if you know film, there's a concept called cinema verite, where it's like you're filming and you're trying to capture the real raw experience, and Metazoo felt like cinema verite but in card form. So yeah. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Okay, moving on. We have Warlord. This also might surprise people. I think Warlord is fantastic. In fact, I'm gonna put it. It's hard to put. I'm gonna put it here for now. Warlord is. It's a game that I really liked as a kid, and it's really hard to take off the nostalgia goggles. It is getting a reboot. I did back the Kickstarter for not for a lot, just for like the starter decks and like a box or two. But it's a really cool, interesting game where you like have ranks, and you have an army, and your army has ranks, and you like do like a rank and file system, and you roll d20s almost like D&D style for combat. If you like Dungeons and Dragons and you like card games, you're gonna like Warlord. I think it's a lot of fun. It's very unique. The art style is very like 90s fantasy style. So if you like the old Magic the Gathering style, I think Warlord is great for that. And at the end of the day, I think it's a lot of fun. Aesthetically speaking, I think it's really cool. But maybe that's because I'm very like nostalgic pilled. It has like that, like I said, that 90s fantasy style art. And I like it. Battle Spirits. I don't know why this is here. This game is now dead. If it wasn't dead, I'd probably put it here. But yeah, this game has been canceled. So Battle Spirit Saga should probably not be on this list at all. But I'll put it here. Why? I think the game was like okay. So it would be typically here just gameplay wise. Actually, you know, gameplay could be even up to here, but I think it's super ugly. It's like one of the ugliest card games, that was on the market. And they did a lot of interesting choices with their marketing. Let's just put it that way. Mechanically speaking, probably up here, but with everything put into it, I think it's closer to here for me. Sorcery. I'm gonna put the end of A tier. I really, actually, I'm gonna put it, let me move some stuff around here. Sure, we'll put it like this. I think mechanically speaking, Sorcery is super fun. I really love the big board gamey aspect. In terms of aesthetics, I think it has some of the best on the market for a Western style card game. I think it actually beats out Flesh and Blood Warlord and Magic in terms of just raw art style, because everything is an original hand painted piece of art. So like just that and the art direction go hand in hand. A lot of people just collect this game. It's kind of like Pokemon in that regards, but unlike Pokemon, which I think is like gameplay wise, I think Sorcery is really good and really fun. Negatives. It's kind of like an LCG in that it releases really slowly. In fact, Sorcery to me is more of a board game than any of these other games, because it has such a slow release schedule. I know board games that have a faster expansion release schedule, like Everdell, I think, has a faster release schedule for their expansions than Sorcery does. But I understand what they're trying to do, and that's kind of like part of their game plan. And because of that, I don't think it's really doing the TCG thing like something like Grand Archive is, right? Because Grand Archive has sets every like 4 months. They have a robust, organized play scene. They support all that. They have live coverage. They're doing the TCG thing. Flesh and Blood doing the TCG thing. I didn't mention this for the Flesh and Blood, but Flesh and Blood has like one of the most competitive circuits out there, and I think that's one of the biggest strengths of Flesh and Blood. Sorcery doesn't really have that. They just announced that they're going to be doing some organized play stuff, but I think it holds it back quite a bit. But personally speaking, I think this game's a lot of fun. But it's also one that I don't really buy a lot of because it comes out like one set every year, and yeah, but I do like it. WeCross. Obviously, if you know me, I love WeCross. I think WeCross is one of the most underrated games on the market. It is a clear S tier for me. I think the game is fantastic. I think the art is fantastic. I think the regular foil cards look better than most of these games. The regular foil cards look better than the high rarity cards for most of these games, which is crazy. And then the high rarity stuff is just S tier. The gameplay also really, really good. Very mechanically sound. You draw 2 cards a turn. You have multiple different deck archetypes and different viable strategies. I really, really like WeCross. It's also really consumer friendly, really affordable. It's one of the cheaper games on the market to play. The only downside is, and not a downside for me, but it is for some folks in the West, it's just an anime waifu game, right? Literally everything is like an object turned into an anime girl to a really silly degree, which I actually find really charming. So there's like a bowling pins, but it's an anime girl, or like a potato fryer, literally called P-tato fryer, but it's an anime girl. But also other stuff like Isaac Newton, but an anime girl. It's silly, but it's also really fun. I don't take it too seriously. I very much like WeCross. If I had the money, I would cover this a lot more on the channel and promote it more. But you know how it is in 2025. Money is a little tight. But I really like this game. Super underrated. It hits all the notes for me. Shadowverse Evolve, S tier. I don't know which one I would put higher, so we can talk about this just for a little bit. But obviously, I love Shadowverse Evolve. This is another one. Super amount of bias here, so take everything with a grain of salt. I am an official ambassador for this game. I do casting and coverage for this game. But I should also note that I do those things because I really love this game. They didn't launch the game with me in that position. They asked me to be in that position because I really love the game so much and I was covering it so much. So it's kind of like one of those things where I was so passionate about this game and I love this game so much that they actually reached out to me directly and asked me to do that. So I genuinely think this game is fantastic on all accounts. The worst part about it is maybe the organized play, and they're getting better with that. And that's one of the biggest things I can say about a lot of Bushiroad games, to be honest, is the organized play and coverage could be better for all of them across the board. In terms of like pricing and everything, like I think Grand Archive, if we're gonna do a differentiation between Grand Archive and Shadowverse Evolve, Grand Archive has a much better organized play circuit with cash pricing, just really good rewards, where Shadowverse Evolve is really affordable to play. Grand Archive's on the more expensive side. Shadowverse Evolve, much more affordable. One of the most affordable games on the market, next to like Pokemon and maybe like One Piece. Shadowverse Evolve is super, super affordable. Meta decks running between like $50 to $200 depending on what you're doing, but not much more than that. And 200 might be pushing it. We'll have to see how everything shakes out, but super affordable. Their beginner products I think are pretty solid. The Glory Finder box set, which is their multiplayer product, is incredibly good. Really, really fun. We played a bunch. I played a bunch in person, both on the official Shadowverse Evolve YouTube channel and on Covert Go Blue, which is he's a Magic the Gathering YouTuber, really cool dude. And we have some Shadowverse Evolve gameplay, both 1v1 and multiplayer. So the game is like my favorite game to play. Super fun, super fast. Every archetype is viable for the most part. There's 6 different main classes, and they're all viable for the most part. Obviously, you have outliers, depending on the meta. But if you like Dragon, you can find a Dragon craft deck that's good. If you like Rune, you can find a Rune craft deck that's good. If you're like me and you like Abyss, you can find an Abyss craft deck that's good. So yeah, and it's like I said, affordable, fun, art's beautiful. The normal cards look pretty good, and the chase rarity cards look exceptional. The art is all done by the game is by Cygames, and Cygames has a track record of just having amazing art. Cygames also does stuff like Grand Blue Fantasy and Uma Musume. So yeah, this one hits on all levels for me. Art, gameplay, affordability, accessibility. The only thing, like I said, is It'd be cool to have more casting and coverage for events. It'd be cool to have better pricing for events. They're working on it. It's getting better. But it's not like a big Grand Archive cash pricing kind of deal. Ultraman. I'm gonna put Ultraman in the B tier. I'm gonna put it right here. Well, it's close. Ultraman's around here. I don't know if I like Star Wars or Ultraman more. Ultraman is a really unique card game. And I'm just kind of like getting into the Ultraman franchise. So we're not going to, once again, we're not talking about the franchise or anything like that. As a card game, I think it's really interesting. The card quality is really good. The card stock is great. There's like texturing on the back, similar to like Grand Archive. The chase rarities look really, really nice. The foiling, the texturing, all looks fantastic. It uses a mix of like screenshot artwork and then original artwork, and they're doing more and more original artwork, which I think is great. I think it's a nice compromise between having the fan favorite images from the movies and shows and that kind of stuff to having like original artwork. So overall, I think it's pretty good. And then gameplay wise, it's really unique. The closest thing I can relate it to is like a Marvel Snap, where you try to win lanes, almost like a trick-taking game. It's a very like card game, similar to Weiss Schwarz in that respect, but nothing like, it doesn't play like Weiss Schwarz at all. Weiss Schwarz also feels like a card card game. Ultraman also feels like a card game. It's also really fast too. And as I get older, I respect the games that actually respect my time and don't take a million years to play. Looking at you, Flesh and Blood, Oldham, fatigue matches. That's true. You can have a lot of games that take a long time, but yeah, I think Ultraman's pretty cool. I think it's super underrated, and I think folks should check it out. Yeah, especially if you like the Ultraman franchise. But even if you don't, it's kind of a cool little game. If you're like, I want something unique, mechanically unique, try Ultraman. It is very unique. Next up, Cardfight Vanguard. I'm gonna actually put this in the S tier. I really like Cardfight Vanguard, and I was super impressed. In fact, we're gonna put it here. I learned how to play last year at Anime Expo, where I also learned how to play Weiss Schwarz and the Hololive card game, and I loved it. I think the mechanics are incredible. I really love the crit or the trigger system. So you have like some randomness baked into the game, like every TCG, but the randomness is like fun, with the exception of the over trigger. We're not gonna talk about the over trigger. That might have been that's a very contentious thing. But just like, there's something called like compression in regards to trading card games. And for Vanguard specifically, compression is, getting cards out of your deck that aren't triggers. So you're left with more triggers in your deck. And so when you do drive checks, you have a much higher chance of hitting those triggers, or damage check in case, you're trying to get like a heal trigger or something like that. So I think that part of it is fascinating. Like, doing risk management and manipulating odds. It's just a really fun and interesting part of the game. And it's also one of the longest run games on this entire list, right? Vanguard's been out for like 10 or 13 years. I can't remember which one. It's either Weiss that's 10 and Vanguard 13 or vice versa. I think it might have been Weiss first and then Vanguard. But it's one of the oldest games on this list, next to like the big three, Magic, Pokemon, and then Yu-Gi-Oh! Here. So it's been around for a while. It's had multiple changes. I know people have opinions on different eras of the game, but as someone who's coming into it right now, specifically right now, I think it's a lot of fun. I know that some of their upcoming metas are kind of rough, but we'll have to see how they shake out. But for me personally, I think the game is super fun, and it has really good starter products, like pre-constructed products. Now, like their base level starter decks leaves a lot to be desired, but you have other options too. The Stride decks are really cool because you get full play sets, you can get special fancy versions, but they're like fully complete decks that I think they're generally pretty strong out of the box. And then they recently had the Stardust Blade starter deck that I think was like $18. That's just like really solid right out of the box at a great price, $18. So I think this has a lot of good offerings in it. I think the art is fantastic. It's all original. It's one of the few games on here, including like Grand Archive and Flesh and Blood, Warlord, that aren't Sorcery, that aren't like IP based games, like more of the indie games. These ones are like not IP based games, but a lot of the like Bandai, that kind of stuff tend to be the IP games. So yeah, I think Vanguard's great. I think it's really fun. Yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit. Anytime anytime we sit down to play card games, these games here on the S tier are the ones that I want to play. Godzilla, haven't played it yet. There's a lot of contention with this one. I really want to play it. It is, what we've seen so far, entirely screenshot based, which I generally don't like that. Just across the board. Just a blanket statement, I don't like it. I think the Godzilla game looks charming in a very schlocky B-movie, monster movie kind of way, and I think it fits the Godzilla IP. We'll have to see how well they market it. I think it looks interesting, and I think it looks fun, and I think the mechanics so far look also very unique. You actually have your monster stomp through a city until you can get to your opponent's side of the field and do stuff on their side. So similar to Ultraman, really unique system. We'll have to see how it shakes out. Universes. This is going to be a C tier for me. Low C tier, yeah. I think Universes ranges from having really ugly cards, like Union Arena, to really nice looking cards. So in terms of aesthetics, it's really hit and miss. Some cards look great, some cards don't. It depends on the set. If it's a screenshot set, like Attack on Titan, or My Hero Academia or whatever, I think the cards can look super ugly. If it's not, and if it's an original artwork set, like the Critical Role decks, I think it can look fantastic. But gameplay-wise is really where it gets here. And this is going to be a contentious one for a lot of folks out there. I feel like Universes, out of every single game on here, is the single hardest game to get into from a new player standpoint. It is so mechanically obtuse that I don't know how new players get into this game unless you're hardcore card game player. The board goes from 0 to commander levels in like 1 or 2 turns. It's insane. Both players just flood the board with cards that have like status effect, like, you know, static effects and abilities and stuff within the span of like a turn or two. And if you're a brand new player coming into that, you're just like so overwhelmed. I have heard people being overwhelmed with like cards like Flesh and Blood, being like, oh, I have like decision paralysis. Should I block or should I attack? Dude, it gets so much worse than this. There's just so much stuff. A little bit different, like not as much decision paralysis, but it's just more like, I don't know what your cards do. I barely know what my cards do, assuming you're new. So I imagine from a new player standpoint and from an intermediate player standpoint, I think this game's rough. If you have every card memorized and you're super into this, I imagine it's much better. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Universes. Its aesthetics are like hit and miss, and the mechanics are pretty rough. Though I do know a lot of people, including some really close friends of mine, who absolutely love this game, but I have a hard time personally putting it above C here. And then finally we have Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know, man. I used to love Yu-Gi-Oh! I played competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was a kid. It's really nostalgic for me. I'm gonna put it in here in the B tier. I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna put it. This is another tough one. I guess I'm gonna put it here. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be super fun, and I have played competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! I played it, as a kid. I did really well in some events. I played Yada Lock era, which was not fun. It was fun for me because I was Yada Locking people and playing Confiscation and Delinquent Duo and ripping their hands, and that's great. But at the same time, I know what modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is. I have played it, and it's not really for me, but I can see it being for some people. I know there's a lot of drama competitively for Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially on the organized play side of things, especially in terms of prizing. So I honestly can't put it higher than B. But when I was like thinking about this, I'm like, would I play Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitively? I don't know. But I think I would with just some of those like theme structure decks, like with like the Obelisk, the Tormentor structure deck versus the Slifer, the Sky Dragon deck. I think that could be fun. Or like their anniversary, theme decks, so like your Kaiba deck and your Yugi deck or whatever. I think those could also be fun. So I think I do like Yu-Gi-Oh! To some degree, but it's one of those ones that's just kind of like, oh man, it just balances out to being here for me, I think. Art-wise, it's okay. I'm really not a fan of all of the censorship that went on with a lot of the older cards, and maybe even some of the newer cards too, to ridiculous degrees. I think it's actually hilarious. But I think that's where we're gonna land on this. Once again, personally. And now we're at the point where, do I want to make any changes here? How do I feel about Magic being here? Man, Magic's so conflicting for me. I don't know. I think we're gonna leave it. I think we're gonna leave it here. I am a little conflicted with some of these, but I think the tiers are where I like them. Weiss could move up here because I really like it mechanically, but man, some of the screenshot stuff really kind of holds it back. I do want to play more Weiss Schwarz. I am gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it here. And do I want to change anything else? Final Fantasy is such a underrated game. Maybe I'll bump Final Fantasy up a little bit. Warlord also is fantastic. Really looking forward to the actual release of the reboot. But this is a game that I played a lot as a kid. Very much enjoyed it. Super fun, super interesting. Yeah, this one's also super fun and interesting. Magic, oh man, it's so double-edged with Magic. But generally speaking, I think the Limited is just so good, man. I'm gonna leave Magic here. I mean, Cube, Limited, like just Draft. It's just so good, Magic. I think it's the best. I wish these other games did that more. Like Flesh and Blood, and all these games that do Limited. Yeah, some of these games do Draft, and I have yet to do the Grand Archive Draft. But I think Magic currently, from my experience, does it the best on the market. So yeah, this is my personal Red Zone Rogue TCG tier list for 2025. I'm sure I pissed off a lot of people. I know so many card game players who get angry if their favorite card game of choice isn't ranked as the best one. But you know, it is what it is, and these are my own personal opinions. Like I said, if you wanted the listing of like the most popular games, go look at the list at the beginning. There you go. That's where you can have your Pokemon in the S tier and your Magic. I guess Magic was still an A tier, but you know, at the top of the echelon, and your Yu-Gi-Ohs and all that kind of stuff. But I think this is kind of where it breaks down for me. And I think my big takeaway from this, and just kind of thinking about it, is I think you're going to look at this and you're going to see B tier and be like, oh, that's bad. But I actually think all the games in B tier are like playable and fun. Like I'd be down to play any of these games. I think they're all fun in their own regards. In fact, I think the industry is at a point where there's like a lot of good games, or at least just solid, fun, playable games. If someone was like, hey, I want to play Union Arena, you can borrow my Jujutsu Kaisen deck or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, let's give it a shot. Same with Star Wars. Any of these games, I think would be a fun time with some caveats here. with some caveats here. And then it gets down to here where I'm just like, I don't know, man. So my takeaway is I think the game quality in the TCG industry is like pretty good. It's at a pretty good spot where I think no matter what game you play, I mean, you can have an absolute blast playing either of these. Some of these are going to be harder to find games for than others. WeCross, very, very hard in terms of popularity, way down here. But I think the game is genuinely fantastic. Games like Magic, you're going to be able to find games really easy because I think it's the most popular game to play here in the United States. Pokemon, definitely most popular sales-wise, but most popular to play. If you go into an LGS, you're going to find some Magic players. So I think there's a little bit of that to be said, but that's not something I really, like I said, we didn't want to talk about popularity. So yeah, I'm going to put a link to this in the description down below if you want to, use this as your own tier list. Obviously there are some exceptions here that I left out a little bit. There's a bunch of like Kickstarter indie games that I left out. Generally speaking, I wanted to pick games that were on TCG Player. Some of these aren't on TCG Player yet because they might not exist, like Godzilla or League of Legends, or Riftbound or whatever. But generally speaking, Warlord also not on there. But generally speaking, these are games that are like on TCG Player. So I wanted to include the big games, the games that are like you can get generally like online. If you wanted to go buy a box, you can go to TCG Player and get some product here. Alestrals recently got a TCG Player, so big shout out and congrats to them. But yeah, let me know what you think. Yeah, the comment section is going to be real interesting on this one. One of the reasons I took so long to do something like this because I know it's going to piss some people off like 100%. The like dislike ratio is going to be hilarious. I'll definitely be posting it in the Rogues Gallery community Discord, because people are gonna be like, you rated Flesh and Blood an A, it should be an S. Dislike. Yeah. You rated Magic above Sorcery. Dislike. Unsubscribe. Anyway, it's just card games, man. These are my just my opinions. You can slap your Sorcery up at the top if you so desire. But these are my opinions. Where I kind of rank these right now. And man, I just love card games. We're gonna hop back to me. Hello again. I just love card games, man. And I just want to play some card games. Like I said, almost every game here on the list, and I think there's 30 games here. I'm down to play almost any of them, and I think the industry is in a good spot. We'll have to see how things progress with so many other games launching. There's like other ones coming out later this year, like the Cookie Run game, inexplicably, and some other stuff, Rush of Ichor or whatever. So we'll have to see how things shake out. I will be trying those. Like I said, I play almost every single game that comes out on the market, with the exception of Dragon Ball. I've played almost everything else. So, yeah, interesting time, interesting year. Hey, if you watched this far to the end, maybe like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah, I appreciate you for being here and for watching it. And I appreciate anyone who's really passionate about our industry, about the TCG industry. Generally speaking, I'm like more togetherness than, people trying to tear each other apart and break people down into groups or whatever. Man, we're all just card players here, just like playing some card games. So, I don't know. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time.